I thought of running away from here. I thought about committing suicide.
I don't know which organisations to ask for help from for people in need.
Myanmar has long been criticised by the US for its lack of efforts to prevent human trafficking, protect victims, or prosecute traffickers. But since the coup, the regime has not only made fewer efforts, but created conditions that have pushed more desperate people into the arms of smugglers and traffickers. Hello and welcome to Do Athan, a weekly podcast that brings you human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by Do Athan freelance journalist Kin Nimpu So. Names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors.
I lost my husband in a heavy artillery attack during fighting between the military council and the KNDF. I came to work in Thailand to support my family. I was forcibly made to work as a prostitute. It's my job now.
Manan Mo is in her early 30s. She's from Karenni State, or Kaya as it's known within Myanmar. Sometime after the military coup in February 2021, her husband joined resistance forces, and she fled to a camp for internally displaced people, or IDPs, with the rest of the family. Her husband died in battle the following year, and she had to support 2 children, her mother and her aunt. She just couldn't do that in the camp.
Women living in the IDP camp had few opportunities to make a living inside the country. I decided to work in a neighboring country to support my family. Illegal agents often visited the IDP camps, promising us decent jobs abroad. I reached out to one of these agents who assured me of a good salary working at a massage spa, and that's how I ended up here.
When she got to Bangkok, she realised she'd been tricked. But she didn't speak Thai, she had no documents, she didn't know where to turn for help, and she needed to pay back the loan she'd taken to pay the agent. That was 3 million Chat, or about $1,500 at the official exchange rate. So she was stuck.
I thought of running away from here. I thought about committing suicide. I thought about different ways to escape. But my 10-year-old daughter, 6-year-old son, and my aging parents all depend on me. I had to embrace all difficulties.
Sadly, Manan Mo's story of being trafficked to Thailand is not rare, nor is it new. But several civil society organisations, or CSOs, have told Do Athan that human trafficking cases have increased since the coup and the conflict which followed. The US Trafficking in Persons report for 2023 says ethnic minorities and IDPs are particularly vulnerable to being trafficked. In Karenni State, UN OCHA says 100,000 people have been displaced since the coup. That's roughly 1/3 of the population of the state. Not all fall prey to trafficking, but many are scammed by agents. Some are smuggled across the border and then can't make contact with the agent that they paid, so they have to find their own work. Or they're taken to a different job than the one promised. 20-year-old Muti and her family also had to flee the fighting in Karenni State and were living in an IDP camp. To support her parents and grandfather, she took out a loan to pay an agent for a job in Bangkok, which was supposed to earn her 15,000 baht a month. Instead, she was taken to a Thai border town where she earns 1/3 of that and works long hours in a restaurant.
Every day, all I wish for is to go back home. I'm just getting a set hour of sleep at night, and I don't even get a day off. My labor is being exploited, but I have to keep working in this job because I haven't paid off my debt and I'm the only one taking responsibility for my family. I don't think I will have a home to return to. I think it might have been burned down.
Morprey Mya from the Karenni National Women's Organisation, or KNWO, says women in Karenni State would traditionally make a living from farming or rearing livestock. But conflict has made many of them IDPs, and often they have to find other work to support the family.
I'm not saying that human trafficking didn't exist before the coup, but I can say it has increased after the 2021 coup. The conflict is going on. The military council stationed its soldiers at IDP camps. They burnt houses and planted mines in the houses. Locals couldn't go back to get food. They lived in the jungle and depended on donations. But the revolution is taking longer, and they can't depend solely on donations. They are struggling to cover their basic living expenses.
Myanmar's economy has slumped since the coup, and the poverty rate has doubled. Many young people whose educations were disrupted by COVID or conflict now can't find jobs. Gobanya from the Karenni Human Rights Group, or KNHRG, says they are particularly vulnerable.
Young people take any job they can get. Some of them contact agents to go abroad illegally. The traffickers don't have to search for people anymore. People are reaching out to them on their own. Many of them soon realize they've been deceived or tricked when they arrive in their destination countries.
It's hard to get any figures on the number of trafficking cases since the coup, but Gobanya believes it has increased. He estimated that there might be around 10 people a month now being trafficked from Karenni State. Morprey Mya says the KNWO used to help resolve 2 or 3 trafficking cases from Karenni State every year. Now they hear of as many as 9 or 10 cases a year, but they are no longer helping. That's because of another problem. The cross-border, cross-sectoral cooperation network on trafficking has broken down. Before the coup, families would report cases to the Myanmar Anti-Trafficking Police, or ATP. Now, many people don't trust any regime officials. Previously, CSOs like KNWO would also work with the ATP to help victims. But the KNWO no longer gets calls from the ATP, and they don't feel safe contacting Myanmar security forces. Since the regime has cracked down on CSOs and NGOs, some have ceased to operate, and others are restricted, perhaps keeping a low profile with staff working from home. The US Trafficking in Persons report says the junta is also actively preventing CSOs providing essential services to trafficking victims. Morprey Mya says the result is she doesn't really know how to help trafficking victims anymore.
I don't know which organisations to ask for help from for people in need. When the Myanmar police are asked for help, they ask for money. I have concerns about my staff's safety and my organisation's security. So even if I wanted to help those in need, I don't know how.
Gobanya says it's also difficult to get help from the Myanmar embassy in Thailand.
Reaching out to embassies hasn't been easy lately. We couldn't get in touch with the labor attaches. They don't answer the phone. The Human Trafficking Information Networking Group has lost its edge, and people are becoming hesitant to reach out. They've lost trust in the government, and they are not sure how safe it is to share information.
So it seems that because of the humanitarian crisis sparked by the coup in Myanmar, more people are getting trafficked or scammed by agents in their search for work. And because of the political divisions since the coup and the crackdown on civil society, there's even less help or protection for people if they get into trouble abroad. And what's being done to penalise the traffickers? The US Trafficking in Persons report says the military regime is not making any significant efforts. It says there has been no action against military or government officials who were reported to be complicit in trafficking. And worse, it says the military is continuing to use children and adults in forced labour, which is against Myanmar's own 2005 Anti-Trafficking in Persons law. The International Labour Organisation's Myanmar Commission of Inquiry recently reported that the military's use of labour in conflict zones is ongoing, widespread and systematic, with people being used as porters, guides and human shields. Morprey Mya puts it bluntly.
The Military Council cannot do anything to make the citizens safe. They have become the perpetrators. They are an oppressive government and they cannot take care of human trafficking issues. And it's getting worse. They know that some agents are scamming, and even if they know their address, they won't go and arrest them. Currently, the Military Council is not taking any action against human trafficking.
In Bangkok, Manan Mo may have accepted the work she has to do for now, but she can't help thinking about how her life was before the coup.
Back then, I had my husband. We had a house with a garden. He grew crops. We were not rich, but we had regular income. It was okay for us. When the coup happened in 2021, he took up arms and the whole family fled into an IDP camp in Karenni. We got into this situation all because of power-crazy people.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Do Athan. We would welcome your feedback on social media. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcast via the Do Athan Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes and Spotify. You can also listen every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on Voice of America Radio. Please tune in again next week.